The announcement has not been made, but Frank Saravelli went out there and tweeted this. Sources say that Craig Berube will be named the 41st head coach in Toronto Maple Leafs history. Expect an announcement soon. Now, he does go out there and clarify this. Oh, I suppose it depends on your history and the count. 41st in franchise history, 32nd in Leafs history, as the larger number includes the arenas and the St. Pat's. Either way, it's an incredibly important gig for a 107-year-old franchise, as you were. Now, this is not that big of a surprise. We all kind of knew that Berube's name was linked around there. They were joking about this on TNT. With Berube, I'm pretty sure, saying that he was going to take that Leafs head coaching job. And with Sheldon Keefe's departure, I think this is the main guy that a lot of Toronto Maple Leafs fans wanted to see. Berube does not have to buy any drink, any entree, anything when he goes to eat in St. Louis. That man is heralded as a hero. You could say that his departure from St. Louis wasn't really all too justified anyway. But if you take a look at Craig Berube and his body of work, obviously the Stanley Cup in 2019 stands out, but there was this really great post made on the R Leafs subreddit that I wanted to go out there and read for you here today. This was posted a week ago by Programmatically Hip, and it sets the record straight on Craig Berube. Take a look at what this Reddit post goes out there and says. It kind of pretty much describes everything you need to know if you're a Leafs fan, what the Berube track record really means. I'm seeing a lot of misinformation out there on Berube's record. My significant other is a Blues fan, and I saw all their playoff games in 2019 and a bunch of others over the last 6-7 years. Myth: he won a fluke cup with a hot goalie. Reality: Binnington was very good, but not Swayman or Bob-level elite. He had a .914 save percentage in the playoffs in 2019. O'Reilly won the Conn Smythe, and Pietrangelo was the other main candidate. Binnington did not carry the team himself. The Blues won because they rolled 4 strong lines: Robert Thomas, Maroon and Bozak on line 3, and Steen and Barbashev on line 4. They had a huge and talented defense with Pietrangelo, Bouwmeester, Parayko, Dunn. And Craig Berube had them forechecking and backchecking like maniacs. The Blues were underdogs in all 4 series that year, and Berube had to bring them back from last place to even make the playoffs. If he had done that in Toronto, he would already have a statue built. Myth: Craig Berube never did anything after his cup run. Reality: in 2020, the Blues were contending for the President's Trophy and were playing their best hockey of the season when 1. Jay Bouwmeester collapsed on the bench with a cardiac issue, and 2. COVID shut the league down a week later. When the playoffs started 2 months later, they had no momentum, missed Bouwmeester terribly, and lost. They got dealt the worst hand of any team trying to repeat. I don't actually think it was 2 months later. The season shut down in March, and the playoffs did not begin until, I want to say August? Yeah, no, not 2 months, unfortunately. It was a lot longer than that. But the point remains, there's a really big lull for the St. Louis Blues during their 2020 season. Berube's GM then let Pietrangelo walk for nothing. Same with Vince Dunn. While the Blues were a .500 team and a first-round loser in 2021, they came roaring back in 2022. Berube led them to 109 points, and they gave the Avs absolute hell in round 2, until our old friend Nazem Kadri was pushed into Binnington and knocked him out of the playoffs. The Blues had to start human sieve Ville Husso and lost. Losing to the eventual Stanley Cup champions in round 2 with a 109-point team is no small accomplishment. And yeah, that was just pretty recently. 2021, 3 years ago. Kind of crazy to think that was 3 years ago, eh? The Nazem Kadri, Binnington, water bottle drama. Yeah, that was 3 years ago? That's crazy. Myth: Craig Berube is responsible for the Blues being lousy in 2023-2024. In reality, Doug Armstrong let Pietrangelo, Dunn, Perron, Tarasenko, O'Reilly, Jaden Schwartz all walk or traded them for futures. He traded Jake Wallman in a high second for Nick Leddy. He replaced those losses with subpar players like Falk, Krug, and Kevin Hayes. And the GM dismantled the cup-winning roster and left Berube with a bunch of players who could not play defense or play Berube's preferred heavy style. The roster was so depleted by 2023, they had to claim Kasperi Kapanen off waivers and play him in the top 6. It was so thin, Ryan O'Reilly had Josh Levo as his winger for a while. No wonder people thought O'Reilly was washed. The Blues did manage to get their hands on one Berube-type player, a bruising middle sixer and former Leaf named Dakota Joshua. Of course, they let him go too after a couple of dozen games. He's now playing the postseason hero in Vancouver. Yeah, big shout out to Big Dak, baby. Craig Berube's winning percentage in his first 4 seasons before his roster was torn apart was at .651, .662, .563, and .665. I don't want to put 100% of the blame on Doug Armstrong. 5 years is a long time to coach in today's league, and the team may have needed a new voice in the room, but I never got the impression from Blues fans that coaching was the problem. I got the impression they were sad to see him go. And this is a pretty big thing you'll notice if you head over to St. Louis Blues conversation, you take a look at what they're saying about their coaching situation. It wasn't Berube's fault. There was a lot of sadness when the guy was canned, and even with the situation with Jordan Kyrou and everything, like, there's a lot going on with St. Louis that you could say was not at the fault of Craig Berube himself. So this guy was a very big fan favorite, and he was somebody that I think a lot of St. Louis Blues fans will hold in high regard. Here's another myth. Berube is a caveman motivator. In reality, he is an underrated tactician. Berube and Jim Montgomery led their teams to 109 points despite not having a true superstar or even high-level goaltending or defense because they adapted their system on the fly, moving away from a forecheck cycle game to a rush-based attack that focused on scoring quality and not shot quantity. The result was 9 different 20-goal scorers. We've all seen the video of Berube screaming F-bombs before Game 7 of the Cup Final, firing up his boys like they were preparing to go over the trench wall in World War I to charge a machine gun nest. But he does that kind of stuff in small doses, and he's been very flexible schematically. Ask Blues fans. Craig Berube rarely got outcoached. He's not an overcomplicated X's and O's guy like Dan Bylsma. He plays a smart, fundamental system, and his teams don't often beat themselves. Most of his players loved him. He gets them to buy in and play hard. He's not torts, and he doesn't play mind games. He's a direct, zero BS communicator. If there's one guy who I think can finally get Marner & Co. to compete like crazy in the playoffs, and granted, maybe that is impossible, it's Craig Berube. This is the big sentence here. Craig Berube plays a smart, fundamental system, and his teams don't often beat themselves. That is exactly what Sheldon Keefe went out there and said, that people, teams, strategies, they're all put into place to play off against the Leafs and get the Leafs to beat themselves. Craig Berube does not do that. So when it comes to him being hired as the main head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, as Frank Seravalli says will be announced soon, this might just be the perfect guy for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think this post goes out there and really illustrates that. I mean, big shout out again to Programmatically Hip. This will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read this entire thing. A lot of comments going out there said, brother, consider a job in sales because you sold me. Appreciate this. There's definitely a lot of people in here that don't watch Western Conference games, and then there are a bunch of other comments. Fine, I'm sold. He is my second choice now. So taking a look at the response, I mean, St. Louis Blues fans love this guy. Leafs fans seem to be more on board with it now. And even in the replies of the Frank Seravalli post, I mean, a lot of people are going out there and saying, yeah, shocker, wow, this is crazy. Like, whoa, we didn't know this was going to happen, right? Yeah, no, we knew this was going to happen. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Craig Berube being named the 41st head coach in Toronto Maple Leafs history. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.